the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation?
We do. Trustee Reinders will be saying the invocation tonight, sir.
Yes, I will. Dear Lord, we come before you tonight to ask for your guidance in all we do. Help us to work in unity. I pray that each one of us will grow in your strength and understanding. Help us to love and accept each other as we are, with all our strengths and shortcomings. Let us pray that no ploy from the wicked to divide or darken our reputations will ever prosper. Help us be more aware of the opportunities and responsibilities you have placed before us. I ask that you touch all these people in the room and bestow upon them your faith and glory. Remind us that nothing is impossible with your power. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Trustee Rogers? Trustee Reinders?
Present.
Trustee Pazmino?
Present.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Fialco?
Present.
Trustee Laha? And Mayor Yukich.
Present. Next, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, sir, there are. One, we'd like to table I3. We can do that when we get to it, or we could look at it now. But we would also like to take item F and make F for public comment on agenda items only, and to have public comment as I-14 for all other items. I need a second on that.
So move.
We need to take a roll call on it too.
Okay, Christine, could you call the roll?
Give me 1 second to address what he just said. Yes.
I am missing one more item. One more thing that I want to do too with that, and I'm sorry, I take back my motion. Take back your second.
Take back my second.
Okay, I need to add, move the workshop J to G7.
So we're basically moving it up.
G7. And so that would include the other two items. I will make the motion to do that.
So
Second.
move.
Okay, we got a second. We need a roll call.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
All right, reports and communications from, oops.
Mayor, I believe Trustee Fialco wanted to keep F as is, but for public comment for agenda items only.
Right, we've still got that.
Yes, so we have to do public comment for agenda items only.
Okay.
I think there's one.
All right. Okay. First one would be Sharon Swees.
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding agenda item I-6, I did not see any other bids on the proposed Veterans Memorial. If this was the only one received, and there is nothing else to compare their pricing to, then it should go out for a rebid. This project is not so urgent to the point where the board would not do their due diligence in order to ensure the village is getting the best price possible. The $345,000 plus price tag is almost double than what the Parks co-chair Rose Reiners originally mentioned, and that still does not include any or all of the bronze or pewter statues. The library is currently working on a Veterans Memorial, so moving hastily on the Parks Memorial without price comparisons does not make sense. Regarding item I-13, amending the order of business to allow public comment on agenda items only to remain at the beginning of the meeting, but all general public comments will now be placed at the end of the meeting. This move inhibits residents from making general comments, as they would be forced to wait until the very end of a meeting to make their statements. It also seems quite devious, as residents are familiar with seeing all public comments right at the beginning. It will not realize there may be more comments at the very end of the meeting. Thank you.
All right, so now down to reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Right now, I have nothing to say. I'll wait till the last meeting I'm in. So we'll go with the trustees right now. How about trustee Fialko?
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Just to update everybody, Homerfest is 15 weeks away. To get the updated information for Homerfest, just go to homerfest.com. Summer officially starts that week, the day before we start on the 22nd of June for the fireworks. This year, it's going to be incorporated into Homerfest is going to be senior day, or well, it's senior time and veteran acknowledgement. So basically, we haven't really given it a title yet, but we're working on that. And it's going to be basically Senior and Veterans Acknowledgement Day from 1 to 5:30 on that Sunday. And then we have a band lined up at the same time to complement that time frame. And don't forget that Pet Fest will also be done between the township and the village on June 17th. Look for further information on coming up on that and on our website also. And that is all I have to report, sir.
Thank you. Next would be trustee Reiners.
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to bring everybody up to date on what is happening at Stonebridge Park. We've been getting a lot of questions from residents asking where we are with the tennis courts and with the pickleball courts. Jennifer Vittori has been working diligently trying to get responses, and finally we've gotten the answers that we need to move forward with the project. What we are basically going to be doing is the existing tennis court that is in the park will be resurfaced, and it will be restriped for pickleball courts. And to the south, there is a grassy area there that a lot of the residents were asking if we could please put more tennis courts there. So we actually have gotten a price for the tennis courts, and we will be moving forward with putting new tennis courts on that grassy area. I'm going to be bringing this to the Parks Committee on the 20th, and we will be giving our approval for that at that time. So, and also in regards to the Veterans Memorial, this was not a project that was done hastily. Basically, this project started long before I became a trustee. There were grants that were given. There was a $40,000 grant that was awarded by the Homer Foundation. And the only way that I found out that we were going to be being awarded this grant was when I got a call 2 days after I had knee surgery. And they asked me what was the progress on the Veterans Memorial. From that point on is when I took control of the project because somebody had dropped the ball on it. So, and we actually lost the $40,000 because we did not have a Veterans Memorial in any plan. So therefore, myself and Brett Westcott worked diligently on this for the last year and a half. We have been getting ideas, we've been researching, and Brett worked very hard to put the RFP together for this to send it out. Now, we wanted to keep it local. We wanted to make sure that our village was going to be the one who was awarded the bid, somebody within our village. So Brett actually sent it to every single landscaper in the village of Homer Glen. And it is not our fault that we only got one response back that met the bid. So that's the long and the short of it. So we're not doing anything hastily. We've been working on this, and this is something that the veterans deserve. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next would be Trustee Pasmino.
Thank you, sir. Reporting for the Behavioral Health and Addiction Committee. We had our second official meeting, and this time we had 2 new collaborators, which included, one of the first ones is Kelly Calderon, who has been in the mental health field for 6 years and currently serves the Homer Glen community for outpatient counseling in her own practice here in Homer Glen ACE Counseling Group. They provide virtual counseling to all residents of Illinois and, of course, Homer Glen. In addition to our collaborators, we have Alana Charbonneau. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but she's an amazing individual who is a village staff member who will be providing us with her amazing graphic arts talent. She also taps into our younger demographic, which is a focal point for this organization, and I think she's going to be a wonderful addition. Some of the things that were discussed are awareness of this newly developed committee, getting the word out. So we talked about popping up at existing village events. We talked about handing out literature, email blasts, social media, and hosting our own events here in the village. We also talked about how to get the parents involved, not only parents, but loved ones and friends to engage. We think that's very important because it's not only about the actual person that needs the help, it's about everybody that surrounds that person. And it's also about educating people and bringing the knowledge of this organization to the forefront. We understand that people struggle on how to find counseling because this is one of those situations that everybody, it's not one of the things you're proudest of. So it's hard to really get in there and find that help, right? So that's what one of our organizations is gonna, that's what this organization is gonna help focus on. We're gonna assist the people who don't know also that insurance covers counseling for this. A lot of people didn't know that. We're gonna help you find those counselors. So I'm very proud of this organization, and I really like the feedback that we've been getting from residents and other people that wanna participate. So that feels really good. So thank you to everybody. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers.
Ability Awareness Committee met yesterday. They wanted me to remind everyone that they do have an ice cream social next Tuesday and still have plenty of spots available for anyone that wants to participate. Just get in contact with the village. Make sure you sign up with the village. The American Legion still has a few spots left for their St. Patrick's Day event on the 19th. So if you're interested in attending that, you can contact me and I will get you in touch with Lou. He's kind of not, he's hard to get in touch with, but if you get in touch with me, I will definitely get in touch with them to get you the tickets that you need. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino.
Good evening, everybody. Reporting for the Public Services and Safety Committee. We met last Wednesday and discussed passing the bill for the billing for the Opticom Emergency Safety Traffic Preemption Installation, which is coming before the board for action tonight. Our 12-month review from the Will County Sheriff's Office documented that crime has increased over the past year, especially with burglaries. This information will be given to the new Community Safeguard Committee to evaluate. There was discussion on the status of Long Run Creek with outside governmental agencies and concern about a repeat of the fire that occurred back in April of 2021. All of our emergency response staff are alert. Mr. Wood suggested doing a contest with our school children and the Public Works Department to let the kids pick a new name for the new snowplow, which everyone felt was a very good idea. Committee is also in agreement to have another safety and touch truck event in the fall, probably September, October, which we will coordinate with our village event staff. Reporting for the Community Safeguard Committee. Finally got to have our first meeting where we were able to have a quorum. We weren't so lucky the first time, but we compiled a list of tasks that are in consensus over our purpose and our mission statement. That is, community safeguard is a concept that seeks to operationalize human security, human development, and state building paradigms at the local level. The contemporary concept of community security includes both group and personal security. Our mission statement for the Community Safeguard Committee is to pursue measures within the jurisdiction of the Village of Homer Glen to provide the most safe and secure environment for the residents and the businesses within our community. It's to provide essential information and resources on public safety, crime, and general risks, hazards within and surrounding the Village of Homer Glen in order to enhance community preparedness, response, and resilience to these hazards. It's to explore avenues to incorporate community participation in public safety, to research and implement tools to secure public safety in our community. It's to create and implement safeguard policies. Safeguard policies are essential tools to prevent and mitigate undue harm to people and their environment in the development process. With the amped up crime and violent crime occurring around our village, I compiled a checklist of safety precautions that each of our residents can use to be more proactive with their personal security. If this checklist passes through the Community Safeguard Committee next week, the village will be posting this online via our website and through our social media. We also have 2 referendums on the April 4th, 2023 election ballot. Both of these public questions are advisory and non-binding. One question is regarding the installation of license plate reader cameras at the access points to our village. The other is a question regarding the pursuit of a feasibility study regarding the costs of a part-time police department in conjunction with our contract with the Will County Sheriff's Department. Unfortunately, there's a lot of politicking and misinformation regarding the feasibility study question. Due to this false information campaign by our board members, facts regarding both public questions are available online with the Village of Homer Glen website, as well as via the village's social media page. The same information will also be available in the upcoming Spring and Summer Village newsletter that will be mailed out to all of our Homer Glen residents. I would like to thank someone who goes by the name of ShareBear on Facebook for asking a very simple question. She asked if the referendum for the feasibility study passes, will this result in the board creating a part-time police department? The answer is no. If the costs associated with a part-time police department are found to be feasible, another referendum would go out with the associated costs. I endorse giving all information and power to our residents with this subject, as I'm certain at least a few of my board members are as well. If the costs and the feasibility associated with this are too burdensome for our community, the board will not pursue this issue any further. Why would we? Sadly, I'd like to point out that just a week ago, there was an armed robbery at 143rd and LaGrange Road. Video is available online, and the story is being circulated on the patch along with local media. After working as a civilian in local law enforcement and with paying attention to the local crime stats in our area and within the state of Illinois, along with the lax and permissive changes that keep occurring with our criminal state statutes, I can't encourage enough for our residents to be more vigilant and proactive. I and other trustees are working to provide the tools and means necessary to do this. I've said this numerous times before. We live just over 30 miles from Chicago. Chicago's crime crisis reflects over a 4-year period a 59% increase in murders, a 43% increase in shootings, a 27% increase in robberies, and a 270% increase in motor vehicle theft. We are 11 miles of border with Cook County. We are the only village or city inside Will County that does not have its own police department. I'd like to stress how important it is for all of our residents to look at these public policy questions on the ballot, research them, and use your voice to vote for how you feel about them. 27 more days. Thank you.
Next would be Village Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Our new software, CivGov, is finally up and running. We are just a few days out from the online business payments being available. There was some kinks we had to work out from October to January, and then some information had to be transferred. So you guys had approved that expense in July. I believe it was July 6th of 2022. So it's finally on its way. Just to give an update where we are on the business licenses, there's a total of 167 home business licenses. I'm sorry, 167 are paid, 15 are not paid. 339 brick and mortar commercial businesses were paid, and 40 have not been paid. As of March 1st, the $30 late fee has been added, and the liquor and tobacco renewals will be mailed out in 2 weeks. That's it.
Thank you. Next would be the village attorneys. Start out with Eric.
No report, Your Honor. Thank you.
Terry?
No report at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, next would be public safety officials.
Thank you, Mayor Yukich. I wasn't going to say anything, but Trustee Consolino, violent crime has not gone up in this town. The only thing that's gone up is burglaries to closed businesses at night. There was one particularly active crew that we have neutralized. So that's the only significant increase in crime. We are still the safest area by far, safest community in this area. So I just want to repeat, violent crime has not gone up in this town. Thank you.
Mayor, may I add something to my report that I wanted to just touch base on real quick? The January 11th and January 25th meeting minutes were not approved at the last board meeting, and they're not on this agenda. I don't know the reason why they weren't approved, but if anybody has any additions or concerns or anything, if they could just email it to me so we can get those done, that would be great. That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, next would be village manager.
Hello, everybody. Well, spring's in full force. I know at this time we get a lot of solicitors, so if anybody in the village need a sticker for their door, we definitely have them here at the village for no soliciting. I know we get a lot of calls and concerns about that, so I just want to say this stuff's available. You can place it on your window or door, and it should hopefully deter some of those. The other thing is, it's just a reminder that spring cleaning is on its way, and Will County and the Village of Homer Glen would like to stress our recycling guides. We all do have recycling guides. In our brand new newsletter that's coming out in a few weeks here, there will be a insert which can be torn off and hung on your fridge to give you guys some ideas of what you can and cannot recycle. And that's pretty much all I have to report.
Thanks, Martin. All right, next we go to the workshop. So it's all right, so this is for HR Green.
The gentleman at the podium.
Logan.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Logan Gilbertson. I'm a civil engineer and I work with HR Green. Can you believe it's been a year since we've had this presentation last? So, as you may remember, this is an annual requirement to discuss the NPDES program at a public meeting, like tonight. Gee, is this working? Okay, thank you. Oh, I guess it is working. My bad. All right. So what is NPDES? This is the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. This is a cluster of permits that the EPA has. And the one that we're going to be discussing tonight regulates the village's MS4. This is the storm sewer system. Our community has two separate sewer systems. One carries sewage away from residents and businesses. The other one carries stormwater to our local streams. The storm sewer goes directly to our local streams and does not go through any type of treatment. So that's why this is regulated in its own way. Now, one last thing I want to mention on here is that best management practice. These are BMPs. These are things that you can do to help protect our stormwater and waterways. Okay, so how does the village participate in this program? The first thing that we had to do is file a notice of intent. This tells the EPA what we are going to do to maintain compliance with their permit. So, if you see up on the board there, we have already adopted the minimum control measures and ordinances. We've already been enforcing the ordinances and the different BMPs that the village said that they would do. And every year, we have to tell the EPA what we said we were going to do and what we did. Just making sure that we're maintaining compliance with their permit. So, I know that was all very exciting, but why do we really truly care about this? And this is why I personally care about it. Within Homer Glen, we have 3 streams that are considered to be impaired waterways by the Illinois EPA. Hickory Creek, Spring Creek, and Fittiman Creek all have various different impairments to them that are a detriment to their water quality. I remember last year a gentleman asked afterwards, what about Long Run Creek? Long Run Creek actually is not listed as an impaired waterway. So whether it was not studied or it's actually very high quality water, I am not 100% sure, but it is not on the list. But this really is the main motivation for the program. All right, I mentioned there are these minimum control measures for what the village needs to do. Up on the screens here, you see there's a few different categories, and I'll quickly go through these to really just give you a brief explanation of how the village meets these requirements. The first one, the public education and outreach. So this is basically what we're doing tonight. Giving a presentation and also having information available on the village's website. If you go to the village's website, you can search NPDES and find more information about this program and water quality. We also need to participate in public participation. So this event is meeting that requirement, but also there are other things that we can do, potentially have tables at Homer Glen festivals, things like that. Anything we can do to help get word out about the program, stormwater quality, things of that nature are all applicable to this permit. Right, one of the more, I guess, interesting parts of this permit, I believe, is called the illicit discharge detection and elimination. So this is something actually everyone in the audience can help out with. And what this is doing is just keeping your eyes open for things that are not stormwater that are ending up in our storm sewers or our streams. So I'll show you a few photos of examples of this. Paint getting dumped into storm sewers. You know, the grates that you see in the curb line, they are not going through any type of treatment. Again, they don't go to the sewage treatment plant, they go straight to a stream. Fish don't particularly enjoy paint. A few other things that we frequently come across are salt contamination of improper storage of large salt bins. We have fresh water in the area. Salt, again, can kill fish, amphibians, and vertebrates. Fertilizer, oil, discharges from dumpsters and garbage cans, all these things contribute to decreased water quality. And occasionally, I see things that are just very obvious that they are not stormwater coming out of a pipe, and I can tell you fish and frogs do not wash their hands. Right. Another thing that this permit regulates is construction within the village. So typically with construction, the biggest thing that we are concerned about is sediment. And for a growing community like Homer Glen, this is really something to pay attention to. A couple examples up here are just construction sites that failed to meet their erosion control standards. Photo on the left, you don't see any silt fence. The black fence you frequently see around construction sites allows all the mud and debris to wash into the street. It can actually lead to street flooding. But also, when that water goes into our storm drains, it goes to the streams. And the photo on the right, I took about a mile downstream of that site, and you can still see the mud in the water. And again, this is a detriment to water quality. Sometimes we see sites that made an attempt to control the sediment on their property. However, it is not meeting standards. And in these cases, the village will ask the developer to fix the loss in sediment there. And a picture on the right there is of a little girl walking through some of that mud. So this is the type of thing we're trying to prevent. We want them to have a clean sidewalk to walk on. All right, last slide I've got for you is what is the plan for 2023? So the first thing is to present at a public meeting, which I mentioned is going on right now. So as long as this makes it in the minutes, we'll be able to report it to the EPA. This year, I'm working with Mr. Westcott to prepare an outfall map. This is a map of the storm sewer system, so we know exactly where every single pipe drains into a waterway. We are going to be visiting those outfalls to do inspections on them. And then by June 1, I need to file that report back to the EPA, letting them know how we're maintaining compliance. We are also going to be completing Public Works staff training. So with that, I can take any questions that we may have.
I know we talked about this last year, but I think it's important to state these pictures weren't taken in Homer Glen specifically.
Correct. I do this for many communities. I don't think I had any on here that were actually in Homer Glen.
Okay.
So, and they've been collected over many years. It is not very common.
Brett, could you do us a favor, please, and figure out why Long Run Creek does not fall into that category with the others? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it potentially could be that it was studied, but nothing was identified as an impairment to the waterway.
No, we have a lot of issues with Long Run Creek, so.
I've walked a lot of it.
Thank
I
you.
was a little surprised it's not on there.
Okay.
But
Okay, if there's no other questions, thanks, Ruben, very much.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And then we'll start off with the consent agenda. Only 3 things on it. Number 1, consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of February 24th, 2023 through March 9th, 2023 in the amount of $538,478.90. Number 2, consider an approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's January legal bills from Mahoney, Silverman and Cross LLC in the amount of $6,197.50. Number 3, consider for approval payment of Village of Homer Glen's January legal bills and legislative attorney Odelson, Stirk, Murphy, Frazier, McGrath Limited in the amount of $6,336.25.
I'll make that motion.
No.
Or no motion on consent agenda.
Yeah.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Thank you. Next would be legislation and action items. Number 1, consider for approval the appointment of Fran Purveyor to the Environment Committee.
So move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Just really quick, I'm the chairman of the Environment Committee, and it's my pleasure to have Fran come join us. She's been with us for quite a while as a contributor, and I think that it's about time we do it. Thank you very much, Fran, for joining us, and I ask the board to please make that consideration to bring her back on our team.
And I just want to add to that Fran has been an amazing volunteer to our board with the Environment Committee, so I can only imagine what she'll be able to do as being one of our committee members.
And one thing I wanted to add, she also is
Yes.
part of the Environment Committee for the Homer Glen Junior Women's Club. Fran, would you like to come up so we can welcome you in officially?
Well, we got to do vote first.
This is good.
I just wanted to say that I've been an avid gardener and nature lover my whole life, but it's really been wonderful here now as a retiring Homer Glen after 29 years to have a lot more time to devote to those efforts. And I really enjoyed being on the committee or serving as a consultant on the committee and a liaison between the Women's Club. I also served as the chair of the Environment Committee for the Women's Club, and we've had activities such as distributing over 600 milkweed seed packets to support monarch butterflies. We have a very successful annual Homer Glen garden walk that's been growing every year. We did a really fun seedling planting in Heritage Park.
That's true. Yeah.
Partners with the village last summer. And a number of other activities, especially in conjunction with reuse, recycling, et cetera. So anyway, I'd be privileged to serve on the committee. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
Hold on
you,
one
Fran.
sec.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Did you have something to say, Dan?
Make a motion on it.
We already did.
The motion's made.
Okay.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Welcome, Fran.
Congratulations, Fran. I have to say one thing. When somebody comes from the community and donates all your time like that, when we have businesses out there that can't even hire somebody for a paycheck, this means the world to the community, and thank you so much for participating.
You've definitely enriched our committee, Fran. Thank you so much.
Okay, next one, consider approval, a motion authorizing and signing of the approved agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and Lakota Group for professional land plan service to undertake a visionary process and concept development of a new town center not to exceed the amount of $135,786 by the village manager in lieu of the village president.
So moved.
Second.
May I just address the board briefly?
Yes, sir.
The reason this is on the agenda, as I understand it, is because the mayor would not sign the agreement. So what I'm going to suggest, to avoid having to do this repeatedly, on items 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 of the agenda, you are approving agreements which involve the expenditure of funds. So in each motion with respect to those items, if you determine that you're going to consider their approval, you should include an authorization for the village manager to sign contract documents and perform all other acts necessary to implement the agreements to avoid having to bring motions like this back to the board if there's a refusal by the mayor to sign the agreement. Okay.
Thank you, Carrie.
So you're saying what we need to do is make that motion on each item to include that, correct? Yes. And I think just a roll.
Short it by saying that the motion will include the language that I've recommended, authorizing the manager to sign the agreement and do what's necessary to implement it.
Okay, I think it's important to just roll back just a little bit. This item was approved by the board at the previous meeting. The way I understand it, the mayor doesn't want to sign it for whatever reason. That's his own, that's his own option. And this is why we're bringing it back today. Not that we're approving this. This has already been approved by this board, correct? And I'm just kind of laying it out for everybody. This is something that was approved already, and the mayor refuses to sign it. So
that is correct.
And I'm sorry that we have to come back this way, and following your advice, I think that's probably.
Well, there's no other way to make sure that the agreements that you approve will be executed in a timely manner. If it were an ordinance and the mayor refused to sign it, it would become effective within a short passage of time. But when you approve something by motion, unless you include in the motion what I've just suggested you should, you have to bring it back to get authorization for the manager to sign.
Right, and that was the will of the corporate authorities, was to approve that. So I still don't.
Doesn't matter. It's here for you now to make sure that the manager has the authorization to do what's necessary.
And I did explain exactly why I said I wouldn't sign it. You have an election coming up. You have two different groups that are running for the same thing. And with it coming up in the next 2.5, 3 weeks, why would you spend the money if the next group that comes up has no reason or rhyme that they want to do it, and we just spent a lot of money by giving it away?
Well, right now, George, Mayor Yukich, this board is in charge until May, the second Wednesday in May.
Yes.
Why would we delay all this time when this board approved it? This is what the board has been given the direction to go forward with this.
A new board hasn't even been elected yet.
Right.
And the new
last
board
time.
won't, no matter who's elected, they still won't be in here till May, the second Wednesday in May. So it doesn't make sense in delaying just because we say there's an election coming up. If I remember correctly, when it was our turn and we were coming in, we asked for things that hadn't been approved yet for you to wait, and everybody just went on with it.
A lot of money was spent in that April before we got
Public
on.
Works Director there was no ordinance for. That is how we ended up with the cul-de-sac road, which was very unfair to this board at that time. This is not the same, though. This has been approved. The board, the corporate authorities gave the permission to move forward with it, and I don't think there was any reason you shouldn't have signed it.
This isn't following Robert's Rules of Order, and it's also not following ordinances.
And it's also no reason to rush this in. And when we did get into office, we stopped the ring road. We also stopped
No, you didn't.
the snow hill.
No, you didn't.
Actually, for the record,
actually-
hold on. For the record, what was prolonged was because of the fact that that ring road was supposed to be paid by a grant that the prior village manager fell through on and did not obtain. The agreement for that ring road was the fact that we would proceed with it if we received a grant. So going back, you're still getting the parking, and it was approved in the last ANF meeting.
Right.
At the end of the day, your end goal was accomplished. And one thing that I also want to add is that from what I understand, the current board, and as far as what I understand, this other slate that is running is in favor of a town center. So we are moving forward.
I'd like to call the roll.
That's my job. Christine, could you please call the roll?
Sure, but can I just, for clarification, Carrie, you went a little fast for me, but you wanted the motion to include authorization of the village manager in lieu of the village president?
How should we word that?
Yeah,
It's in the motion
Okay.
itself, Ray.
but I meant going forward for everything else, so I can include it in there?
No, we
So-
have to make that motion
So
on
here,
each one of those
we'll
items.
have to change it on each one and motion it, but here, so you just say it as we have it in this one.
Okay.
A motion authorizing the sign, we'll ask to amend, motion authorizing the signing of an approved agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and yada, yada, to undertake blah, 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 hang on, consent.
I'll just add that last sentence after the comment. in
I'll
lieu
just
of the
make it
I,
easy
the
for
village
you.
manager,
On
in lieu
each,
of village
why don't we do
president.
this? I'll just make it easy for you. On each motion, I'll just add that at the end of the motion for you. How's that sound? That way you won't be
Thank you, Carrie,
confused,
for assisting.
and the board will know what they're voting on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing that I said that I wouldn't approve.
Well, who knows if you change your mind.
Okay, I'll do the roll call. Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one you tabled.
Well, you know what, I would just like the motion, to go through the motion here, or to table this at this time. I know we tried to include it in the beginning, it got a little, I had to go back on it. So I just want to say one more time, we'd like to table I3. I need a motion.
I think you had a second from Ruben earlier.
Second.
And I think you should take a roll call on that.
Any discussion? You can do that in another couple weeks. Let me
What's
finish
that?
with what I'm doing.
No, there's no,
There we go.
on that, I don't believe that goes into discussion.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. So what are we doing with this one? Okay. Number 4, consider an approval ordinance number 23-016, a request for one, a special use permit for a major amendment to the Homer Glen Bell Plaza planned unit development. With certain exceptions, a special use permit for a drive-through establishment and a site plan for certain property generally located in the C2 Local Business District of 14402 South Bell Road.
So move.
I'm not
Second.
done, not done.
No.
Lot number 1 of the Squeasto Place subdivision, and also Lot 8 of the Homer Glen Bell Plaza PUD, Homer Glen, Illinois, HG 2226-PUD, Lot 8 of Homer Glen Bell Plaza. Now,
So move.
Second.
discussion.
You know, you knew
Melissa.
I was going to ask you, Melissa. I do have a few things to ask maybe before you get started, though. And with this, they're asking, I see they're adding 3 units over there. I believe there's a total of 3 units, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have stores? I know they're also asking for a drive-through over there.
Correct.
On that south side. I also know that the fire truck doesn't look like it can make it all the way around the building, but they do have a diagram of how they could get in there. Same with the garbage truck, and then same with the cars. Under, each one is got their own item number. One fire truck access would be 1C. So that, as you're kind of explaining what they're looking for, maybe you could answer a few of those questions in the process, but also this is a group, I believe this is Polar Property Group who owns all that land over there, correct?
Correct, they do.
Okay, and they're also under Net Development Corporation. So they have two different business names that I could see. But do we already know, because we're asking for a drive-through, do we know what type of business is going in the drive-through portion? So those would be my questions I would ask when you were done, but I'd rather ask them now so you can.
No, you're good. I don't normally do a full presentation on this, but I can just go over it quickly. Yes? Okay. So this is Lot 8 of the Homer Glen Bell Plaza PUD. It was approved, I'd have to go back in my staff report. Originally, oh, look at you.
You didn't include it in this?
No, I have a full table. I did. 2018. It's been amended a few times when Dollar Tree came through for some changes, and when Pet Supplies Plus came through for some changes. And this site plan layout is different from what was originally included in the PUD, so they have to come back through for an amendment to the PUD because of the site plan changes. And then originally, I think it was a single tenant building, and this is a 3-tenant building as well. It's just mixed use commercial. They did indicate in the application documents, it's in the description narrative in the packet, that the tenant on the south side is a frozen dessert. I believe that's how they described it. It's
ice cream?
Pickup only. It says frozen.
Do we know the name of the business?
We do not. It says frozen desserts. Pickup only, as I understand it, so there's not seats inside. And there's not even a menu board, so you like. I don't believe so, but they are, I do believe we have representatives here if we have specific questions, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And you order everything on an app, and then you pick up through the pickup lane. So I don't think this is uncommon for some businesses are going in this direction, especially since COVID came through. So as I believe it, they do have like a letter of intent, but I think they can probably talk to that. I don't know if they'd like to come up or not, but so with regard to the circulation, Trustee Fialco, the fire district was circulated all of this information with their auto turn, and you are correct, they cannot get the fire truck all the way around the building, but access to the building was not a problem. They do not have any issues with being able to get to and service this building, and they did not have any comments on the layout of this. I think because of the shallowness of the lot and the accessibility from the main circulation road, they didn't have any concerns with that. So one of the major shifts, just to compare from the original site plan, is there used to be 2 entrances with a big kind of sea of parking lot along the main drive, and it's been changed to a single entrance. This was heavily looked at by our engineers because of stacking out on Bell Road. The applicant had to rerun their traffic study with brand new numbers for the entire development in order to justify its location, and all that has been looked at and analyzed by our engineers as well. So that was kind of one of the biggest sticking points before it got to Plan Commission, but that was sorted out. So other than that, it's pretty simple, and if you have any other questions, I can certainly. There's some sign variances, but I think this entire development was granted wall sign variances. Then we did a thorough analysis of this. The Plan Commission looked at all of it. It's very consistent with what was originally asked for. And then there's a multi-tenant sign, and it's also consistent with the other 2 signs that are already on the property.
Have we run this past our local fire department to see if they're okay with this? Because I didn't find that part in here. And now I know that the Dunkin' Donuts is similar to that. You can't get a fire truck through probably where the drive-through is at, but we've got Bell Road right there, which gives you quick access.
Correct.
Should the back of the building be on fire. And for this, as far as I know, this is still field on the back side of that, and that would be one of my concerns if there was a problem. How do we get, if a car even started on fire back there, how do we get?
Well, they can pull all the way into the site, and they are able to back out in short distances like this to get out, to be able to leave sites.
I see the pattern under C1, it's there, I see that.
Yeah. The village does, when we get applications in, we do circulate to all the school districts, fire district gets copies, and they did respond to this, and they did not have any issues with this layout.
Uh,
Hi there, I'm Andrea.
Hi, thank you for coming up.
Poplar Property Group and Added Development, so I'm here
I'm guessing because you have a drive-up window, you know the tenant that's going to be in there?
We are under an LOI right now. They were waiting for us to be able to get all our approvals together before they would sign a lease. So once that lease is signed, I will be calling Jamie and
So what you're saying is you're not at liberty to tell us who that tenant may or may not be?
Are any of the other spaces rented?
no, they're not.
Any other questions?
I do. Can you remind, I guess, the board how many vacancies there are out there right now in the rest of the development? Are there any? Okay.
Yeah, we filled the last one with.
I saw that. Yeah. That's great. I hope that continues for you guys. That's, yeah. Brett Westcott, can I put you on the spot for a second? And when you look at C1 and the access for the fire, is that normally something that you would be okay with as an engineer and the way that's put together? In comparison to other stores that would be here in Homer Glen?
Yeah, I would say I don't see any issues with it. I think, like Melissa was saying, it's a relatively small footprint for that building there. To be able to access back in and out of that parking lot and right up to the building.
Specifically to the fire truck issue on C1?
Yeah, I would defer to the fire department, and if they have no problem with it, they've been shown this auto turn exhibit, then I'd have to defer to him. They're the experts on this one. But my professional engineering opinion on this, I would say that I don't have any concerns about fire safety for that building. I would say that they should be able to cover that entire footprint of that building there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, everyone okay now?
Yes, sir.
Call the roll.
Trustee Cancelino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Next would be consider approving one of the 3 quotes for the 2023 Spring Parkway Tree Installation Program.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
What I'd like to ask about that, we talked about this in A&F and Admin and Finance. We voted that unanimously to approve this. But in our discussion, the only thing and we're looking to have Bankston take care of this. That was the A&F's recommendation, and I see it is in the motion. The only thing I don't see is the list of trees, though, for Bankston on there, though, Carmen. I see the others have all their, in the tulip tree that I was advocating for is in there on the other list, but I don't see a list of.
Bankston knows that the same list for all the other ones, these are the trees.
They just.
They previously gave us a
we
list.
went through
And
that.
yeah, and there was, actually, remember we removed a tree and then we added a different tree?
Yes, Rose, but the rest of them put it on the list for the bid, and it's not in, the list is not there. I just want to make sure that they're still obligated to the list that the others have submitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your motion here would be to approve the quote from Bankston and authorize the village manager to execute the agreement and carry out the terms of the contract, correct?
That's not necessary. I did not.
Is that what your motion is?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank
Need
you.
a second?
You need a second?
Well, all right.
Second. I second.
Wait, Trustee Pazmino made the original motion. Trustee Cancelino made the second. So we're adding this, we're amending it, and then we have to go back and vote again.
You're not really amending it. That's the motion they're making. The motion is to approve the quote from Bankston and to authorize the manager to execute the agreement and carry out the terms of the contract. Is that correct?
It is, but what the clerk was saying was we had made the motion.
I know. It doesn't matter. I made the motion complete for you, and I'm asking you if that's a correct statement.
Makes it easier.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next would be consider for approval a contract with Touch of Green for design build services to develop and construct the Veterans Memorial and Heritage Park in the amount of $345,000, $798.
Your motion again on this would be to, if you're going to consider approving it, would be to approve the contract, with touch of green in the amount stated, and authorize the village manager to execute the agreement and carry out the terms of the contract.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Brett, do you want to maybe just give everybody a little bit of an idea of how detailed the bid was that went out, the RFP?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to run through the history of the RFP process, we did issue a formal RFP, which we published on Homer Glen's website. We also published it in the paper. As you stated, I did reach out to all of the local landscapers within Homer Glen and sent this RFP out to them. When we put the RFP together, the idea was to add a significant amount of detail to it because we're trying to make this Veterans Memorial that met the same standards as the rest of Heritage Park out here. We wanted to have high quality materials. All of the items that are included in this quote are all made in the United States of America. We added some engineering to it and some architecture to it. I could see where there would be some sticker shock to this, but I think looking at this quote and looking at the cost of materials currently and looking at the amount of engineering that is being put into this, there's some thought being put into this, some kind of future proofing, some look ahead. We have lighting, we have sprinklers, we have perennial plants, we have beautification. They've come up with a very unique design, installing a concrete slab beneath the engravable bricks, which allows us to remove the bricks and replace them much easier than it would be if you were to try to just put that on the ground and have like a gravel or sand underneath it. There's electrical to it, the water and the sprinkling to it, and looking into that, they're analyzing our current electrical systems in the park to make sure that that can suffice to, we're not drawing too much power, so we're blowing breakers. There was a lot of thought put into this. We wanted to hold it to a high standard, you know, and pay respect to our veterans and people who have essentially, you know, given their life to serve their country. And I think that this quote from A Touch of Green, it was the sole quote. I think that that's a reasonable price. I don't think that the village is being gouged by them at all. I think, again, like I said, with the current cost of materials and labor and engineering going into this, the survey and the architecture, the high quality materials, this is something that truly will, you know, represent Homer Glen. And it wouldn't be something that you have all of this heritage park that stands out and is a very, you know, high quality construction and high quality materials, and you don't want the Veterans Memorial to lack, right? You want it to match all of that. You don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb. You want it to be a tribute to our soldiers that have served our country. So.
And one more thing I'd like to add too is that the Sharon Swees had made a mention of the statues are not even paid for that are supposed to go in the park. Well, part of what the program for the bricks was to raise money to finish the statues in the park. So, I'm sorry, in the Veterans Memorial. So the more money we raise with the memorial bricks, then what we will do is we will take that money and we will actually be purchasing the statues for the memorial. In the initial event, we do have some donations that people do want to sponsor a statue in there. So moving forward, we are going to get all that set up, and we're working with a company right now that is actually going to do the program for the engraving of the bricks. So we'll be opening up that very soon.
I'd also like to point out something, or a few things. You know, this was not a no bid contract with what the village did prior with Heritage Park. We have a qualified company that's doing this, and it's also a local company.
Right.
And the longer we sit on these projects, we're watching the costs increase, double and triple. So, yes.
Yeah, because the cost did increase just for the 1 year that we worked on this.
Am I exaggerating on that,
The cost did increase. The cost did not double. It went up basically like about $75,000. But that was due to inflation and the cost of goods rising as fast as they did. So.
And also for this same project idea, sitting for how long it did.
Yeah.
So.
I think anytime we can incorporate a local business within Homer Glen to do this type of work, it's a win-win situation, both for the village and for the business within Homer Glen. And that's what we're here for, to work with businesses, to get our projects done, to do them at a great cost. And I think you said all of it's going to be American-made products. I mean, that's win-win-win. So I'm 100% for moving forward.
What month did we start working on this idea?
We started working on it. I had my knee surgery in January of 2022, and I started working on it in February of 2022.
Thank you.
I wanted to commend Rose Reinders and Brett Westcott for working on this with the design. It looks awesome. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you for representing our veterans, because they deserve this and more. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one, consider for approval a quote from Royke Interiors for the Events and Recreational Department and with an improvement to install their own ADA compliant public counter and workstation for the amount of $7,645.
I'll make that motion.
Your motion would be, again, to approve the quote from Royke in the amount of $7,645 and authorize the village manager to execute the contract and implement the agreement, correct?
I will make the motion,
I will
yes.
second.
So Carrie, did you take over as being mayor tonight?
Mr. Mayor.
He's our legal counsel.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the village board authorized you to execute a contract with the Lakota Group, and you refused to do it. The village man, if I may, you asked me a question. The village manager called me and explained to me that you refused to do what you had been what the board had authorized you to do, and what it indicated that they were very happy with the contract that had been presented. So in order to avoid whenever you have a whim that you're not going to execute a contract or do something, I am asking this board to avoid having to incur additional attorney's fees every time the village manager has to call me, go through this exercise in futility because you won't sign something. So if you won't sign the agreements, this board has the authority to authorize the village manager to do so and implement the contract. And that's what I've told them to do, so we can avoid having to go through this from now on until you're no longer the mayor. That's my advice to the board. It's good advice, so you can avoid the nonsense that occurred with respect to the town center agreement.
I'm doing what's right for the village with my residents, the ones that put me in office, and to watch out for them. And that's exactly what I'm doing, but you just...
How does this help our residents?
I'm talking, so it's a point of order.
I know, Mr. Bully.
Oh my God, I finally said point of order to you. I should have done that many years ago.
Call the vote.
Oh, you are something else.
Trustee Fialko, you made the motion. Who made the second?
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know if it was you or Jennifer.
What, I just, as far as discussion, I know we want to call the vote. You were talking about something completely different from what the item was here. So going back to item I-7, I'd like to thank Carmen Morella, because this man is unbelievable. The money that he has saved this village time and time again, I've worked with him on a few of those items, but I can't thank you enough for all you do. This started off at $20,000, and Carmen got this down to the number that it is today. And sometimes 1,000 here or 1,000 there or 5, it doesn't seem like much, and we could just say, well, it's village money, just get it done. But no, Carmen invests his time. He tries to get the best bids out there. He tries to get things at the best cost that we can get things at. And this is just one example of that. Starting off at $20-some thousand, and he was able to figure it out and get it done with a local business or a business that's done business with the village before many times, and down to $7,645. Thank you, Carmen.
Trustee Fialko, thank you for pointing out how much he was able to save with this. I'm sorry that I interrupted on that. But Village Manager Morella, this isn't the first time that we've had to intervene and do this, correct?
No.
Yes. So this is why I truly believe that the mayor cannot be trusted. This is also why the mayor is censured. And I believe that our legal counsel is standing up for us correctly. So thank you, Attorney Horvath. It's much
Now can we
appreciated.
call the vote on I-7, please?
Yes. Christine?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one, consider for approval a contract with HR Green to provide engineering services for the design of the parking lot expansion with Heritage Park in the amount of $128,395.
Again, and I'll repeat, not to be impertinent, but I think it's important for the record that the motion will be to approve the contract with HR Green in the amount of $128,395 and authorize the village manager to execute the contract and implement the agreement.
So move.
I make them second.
So Pazmino and Reinders.
Thank you.
So is there any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to let everybody know that basically this is the improvements to the park. Originally, we started out with the cul-de-sac road. And back then, we actually tried to pursue it, but we were not awarded the grant. Time and time again, we actually asked the previous assistant village manager what the status was, and he never could give us an answer. And he kept saying that it was Springfield that was holding it up. Well, we never got the grant. So the Parks Committee decided to squash the project, and then Carmen Morella, again, to our rescue, actually went back to Springfield and actually worked with Springfield to get the grant. So we now have the $750,000 grant to move forward with the parking in the park. Basically, the cul-de-sac is not going to be as large as it was in the beginning. We're trying not to actually impede on the 319 grant, so we're trying to really stay off of that. But we are going to be making some adjustments in front of the sled hill. And then we're actually going to be working on the side of the village hall to put some additional parking to the east side of the village hall. And actually, Carmen, are we actually going to do that space in the back over by the football field as well, by the baseball field? So we're going to be putting parking there, and also we're going to be doing the inner circle of the ring road around the park. So, I mean, this is going to be a great project, and HR Green, we've had many different projects that we've worked with them. So they are actually going to take the lead on this, and we'll be moving forward as soon as we pass this. Thank you.
And I just want to see, you know what, for the other grant that was never gotten, we waited for over a year.
Yeah.
And I still can't figure out why we were told the things we were told in that process. But here we are once again with the village manager, Carmen Morella, where you always get more for your money. And I can't thank you enough.
Literally.
I think it took you approximately 3 months to get that grant money, right?
Yeah.
Or a little bit longer, but you filled out the paperwork properly. You got $750,000 for the village, and I thank you once again for your hard work, sir.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Carmen.
I can't take all the credit because I do have an amazing staff that works behind me that helps out very much. So, you know, we have to thank them all.
Duly noted.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Gia. And thank you, Gia, because I know you've worked hard on this one, too.
Yes, she did.
Christine, you want to call the roll, please?
Mm-hmm. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval the 2-year lease agreement with Peterson Properties for the village's EMA and park storage at 15757 Anico Drive, Units 3 and 4 in Homer Glen, with the understanding that the village will pay $2,725 per month from June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024, and $2,835 a month from June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Your motion would be to authorize the execution of the 2 leases in the amounts stated and authorize the village manager to sign those leases on behalf of the village and do whatever else is necessary to implement them.
Okay, with that one,
Signed already.
just a question. It being that it's under $5,000 on that one, just do it anyway? Okay.
Just do it anyway.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And those papers were already,
Who wants the second? I'm sorry, there was both of you.
Just give it to Jen.
I think there needs to be a little explanation on it, though.
Well, I wanted to ask the village manager, Mr. Marella, are we ever going to entertain the idea of possibly creating our own building?
Yes, that is something that Dan Fialka and myself have had many, many discussions about, and we're working diligently to find a location for the building and also erect the building so we can pull away from these contracts.
Yes.
With the time frame that we're looking at, with the 2 years, I think will be sufficient enough to actually get it completed, get moved in, and move forward. So the village is not spending the money they spend on these 2 units moving forward, so we would bring it in-house. And it's a big concern of mine. It's something that I'd like to save the residents some money on, so I think that's a big point that we're.
It's a lot of money.
Yep.
Ruben, I mean, Village Manager Morella and myself start talking about this a couple months ago, but also at A&F, George is in agreement that we should be getting out of there. But now, I believe before we got property from the township, there wasn't really the availability to build where we wanted to build, because we don't want to put the building up close to the road. We want to kind of nestle it in the back where it's away from everybody, so it's not an eyesore to the surrounding public. And in A&F, Trustee Pazmino, myself, and Mayor Yukich all agreed that is the right thing to do. But at the time, they did not, 2 years ago, they did not have the property to the west to be able to do that. So I think we've looked at having FBI out here to take a look, and there's some things that we have to do. So I think that 2-year time period will probably be the end then, because in that time period we will be. I did the numbers before. I don't have them in front of me. How much money we end up saving over 10 years? It's a lot of money. It's like $100,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Correct.
So the wheels are in motion to go forward and to do the right thing and to get out of there in the next 2 years.
I would feel very comfortable going that direction, especially looking at all these costs. Thank you.
okay.
Can we call the
Madam
roll?
Clerk, could you please call the roll?
There we go.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval 2023 Homer Glen Parks Service renewal agreement with True Green Commercial in the amount of $6,699.
Once again, if you approve this, it would be considering approving it and authorizing the village manager to enter into the agreement and implement it.
So move.
I'll second that.
That one's been signed too, so why don't you give us a discount on the bill?
Why don't we get a detailed bill from Eric?
Could we please take the roll call?
Actually, I would like to say something here in regard to this. Basically, what happened was that Eternally Green bought out the other company, True Green bought out Eternally Green, who we were using previously, and the price was already set. So I know Jennifer Vittori did try to negotiate a lower price for this, and because the company was bought out, they would not negotiate a price. So she said next year she would like to actually try to find another company. She said that they told her that the price of fertilizer has gone up tremendously, so they weren't able to lower the price at all.
That's the theme here. Everything continues to keep going up.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, consider for approval the Optagon Emergency Safety Traffic Preemption Installation in an amount of $21,699.50, which is a portion of the original invoice amount of $86,798.
It's just a bill? Okay.
Second?
Comments?
Okay, so this is money that technically we owe to Lockport. This agreement was made February of 2021, went before the Public Services and Safety Committee, and the Township Fire Department, and the village. This was a cost-sharing agreement. And the original amount is $86,798. Everybody else has paid what they owed. What is left to us is the $21,699.50, or sorry, $21,699.50. So I don't see any reason why we should be paying our bill on this. The sensors, there were 4 of them put in, 2 of them within the village limits. So we're
What
already
had
utilizing.
happened with this is we were not sure about this because this took place when we were not.
Yeah, well, this is at February of
not trustees
2021.
At that time. So we sent it back to public safety to find out what the facts were. So we knew that all the I's and the T's were dotted, or the I's were dotted, T's were crossed. And so your committee did that already. This portion, I don't know what percentage, but it's a percentage of the total, and that cost is ours, and we're obligated to pay it to Lockport. As far
Well,
as
total was almost 87,000.
Right, but for the village of Homer Glen, though, the cost is $21,699.50.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval the proposed discretionary general fund transfers on April 30th, 2023 per standard operating procedure number 2.
So moved.
I'll second that. John, could you explain this for everybody? Because it's a little complicated as far as how we got to this and why we do it.
Okay, yes, this is something we've been doing the past few years because we've had good financial results from the year. We're just forecasting, we're working on the budget currently, and we're forecasting a sizable surplus in the general fund, which is going to put us over our maximum balance that's defined in our fund policy. The operating surplus is projected at about $2.8 million. Half of it comes from revenues exceeding the projections, sales tax, income tax, use tax. They've all come in really well above our expectations back this time last year. The other half of the surplus comes from us not spending as much as we had budgeted. We had saved on some expenditures. So the grand total is a large surplus. It's going to allow the board to sweep that surplus over, approximately $2.8 million surplus over to the capital project fund and let it sit there and be used for future capital projects. We did the same transaction last year with almost the exact same amount.
Well, that's good.
So it's, we really are conservative with our forecasts. This is a byproduct of that. And hopefully the next year we'll be doing it again. But I really don't think so. But, you know, we've had a windfall with building improvements, and the income tax has gone really high because we're almost at full employment. So a lot of things happened that created really good results for the village, and this is the byproduct.
And if I understand correctly, at the moment, we're $900 and some thousand under budget, plus with the $2 million sweep makes $2,900,000 and some thousand with that we have not spent of the village's money, and that's why we have to sweep that back under SOP 2. That's what dictates that we have to do that, correct?
That's correct.
And then, so we did all that without raising taxes. I think everybody needs to keep that in mind, because that's been a conversation that's been out there. So thank you very much for explaining it, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
And Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval, motion to establish ordinance number 23-017 in order to amend section 5-3B of the Village of Homer Glen's code ordinances regarding the order of business and agenda for the transaction of business in the regular village board meetings conducted within the Village of Homer Glen, Illinois.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
And I'd like to amend also. What I'd like to do is make a motion to amend by taking on page, well, it would be the third page, and it would be under section 3.5 to amend by removing the two words approval of, where number 5 would then only read amendments to the agenda. I never understood why approval of was in there because we don't know if we're even changing them. So amendment, where that would read amendments to the agenda, I need a second.
Second.
I'd also like to point out that there's a lot of our local school boards choose to do this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. By splitting up public comment, you're actually dealt, for anybody that's counting, you get 3 minutes for either side of it. So you're actually doubling public comment time. But everybody knows why we're doing this. This is no big secret. And the thing is, I think this makes for a better meeting. I think that I know there's other examples out there of other communities that do it this way. And it seems to have put some constant, it's been a better meeting when it was this way last time. So I saw how well it worked last time and where people were able to comment, because public comment is so important to the process of any type of government. Speaking about items on the agenda is number one. And then hearing the community's concern, that's also just as important. But splitting it up like this has added a little piece to the meeting, I'll say that. But everybody will still get their time to speak about whatever they want, but we are actually doubling that time. So that is why we move forward. I actually put this change in through this ordinance, so.
So you want to make an amendment first to
Yes,
change section 3.5 to just read amendments to agenda?
Yes.
You make that motion?
I got that. I made that motion. Rose seconded it.
Roll call on the amendment.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Now it would
well,
be-
We have to vote on the motion then.
Now you would make a motion to vote on the ordinance as amended.
Yes, sir. I will make that motion.
I'll second.
I'm just going to put this out there. There's 3 motions out there right now, but that's okay. We'll figure it out later.
There's only one motion. They voted on the amendment 4-1.
The first motion was Fialko and Reinders. Then he made a motion to amend his, and now they're making a motion to
Corrected it.
approve.
So the motion on the table now, or on the, before the board, is a motion to approve the ordinance as amended, correct?
Right.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's your second?
Yes.
Roll call.
Consolino, you seconded it. Rose, or did you second it or Consolino? Because Consolino just made the
She
second this last
seconded
time.
the first.
I seconded the first time.
Right. Jennifer, you seconded the second time, correct? Okay. Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next will be all other public comments. So
There was nothing else.
Steve Balich.
Oh.
I want you to pay close attention to the mic's laws.
Oh, can you?
The mic's not on.
There's some laws being broke. I want you to pay close attention to what I'm saying, because somehow or another, this has got to be addressed. This started back when I filed to kick one of the people off the integrity ballot because they spelt their name 8 times out of 10 pages on their petition wrong. And then the integrity side, they retaliated by going after my son, Mike Bonomo's son, me, Brent Porfilio, and Mike Bonomo. None of us are even running for election. I decided not to do nothing, just let it alone, because it's only going to escalate into a big monster war. But I don't like no one picking on our kids. They went after Mr. Pazmino's family also. Did we attack them back? No, we did nothing back. The next thing that happens, I'm getting calls from people that live in this town telling me that people are going to their door telling them that the township is going to build apartments and bring in Section 8. So do I retaliate and go after the integrity group? No. I put a notice on my website that says that Homer Township is not going to build apartments at all, period. Next thing that happens, the mayor, Mr. Yukich, goes over to Field and Stream, gives him a card, one of the kids that's a manager over there, and says, you got to take them signs down out there. And he starts yelling at the kid. At least that's what I'm being told. But the signs got taken down twice by the mayor. Now what the heck is this?
Simple. He owns the property. He said no.
The mayor goes into the place of business demanding that the signs go down, then the mayor takes them down. That's outrageous. Next, we're going to go to the next one. And the next one is where now you really went out of your way to screw up. I got a call today, and that's why I'm here. I haven't talked at your meetings about any of this stuff. As mad as I get about it, I haven't been here saying anything. Now I get a call that a call is going out for a survey from Homer Glen. And I got the phone number where it's coming from. I asked Carrie if it's legal, and Carrie said it is not legal. It is illegal. And this survey is asking questions about the coming election. From Homer Glen, that's what it says. And at the end, when you're supposed to say paid for by, it cuts off, so there's no paid for by. So now, Mr. Hanson, what are you going to do about that? I want something done, because you can't have that. This is escalating over and over and over again, and I'm not going to sit back and let this continue without saying something. The last straw was today when I got that phone call. That's the last straw. I didn't search out any, I know all their records. I could have went after all their criminal records. I could have went after all kinds of stuff with them, but I didn't, because I didn't think it was needed, and I'm not going to. But I'm sure in the hell not going to let this go on. So when this is done, I suggest that you talk to the other attorney, or you talk to one of the police. I have the phone number, and you need to find out what the heck's going on, because it's illegal for the village of Homer Glen to conduct a survey about an election.
Next, John Walters.
I'll pass.
Next, Dave Buckley. Last, Jay Rhodey.
Well, Mr. Mayor, trustees, taxpayers, residents. The reason why I'm here is that I've been going to meetings now, wanting to get involved for about 2 years. The meetings that I don't attend, I assure you I listen to. I've been going to school board, village, township. I also started going to HTRO meetings, and I am now the vice chair of the HTRO, which everyone probably knows. So I can't remember one time in the 2 years that I've gone to any of these meetings at any of these places where it was ever talked about on the dais, in the meeting, ever about pushing Section 8 housing. Not one of these groups, not a single one of these groups. But imagine my surprise when I started getting, I'm the vice chair of the HTRO, I started getting email messages asking if the HTRO is pushing Section 8 housing. I have no idea what these people are talking about, and they tell me that a couple of candidates, one that's running for mayor and one that's running for trustee, went on public radio saying that the HTRO is pushing for Section 8. So I thought maybe they just made a mistake. Maybe they meant one of the other entities and all these other boards, maybe they just misspoke because the HTRO is just a group. They can't push something like that. And I went over everything, and the only thing that I could even find that came close to Section 8, that I don't even think is Section 8, would be a letter and a document, George, that you put out there on June 18th of 2020 to a Mr. Alan Quick. He's the Managing Director of the Department of Strategic Planning and Reporting, Illinois Housing and Development Authority, where you tell him it is the village's intent to submit at the end of this year, which would have been 2020, an updated plan to help guide the village towards more diverse housing stock. You actually go into talking about the 10% affordable housing, and then you, Mr. Mayor, actually give him properties that would be well fitted for this diverse living along the east side of Parker Road, South Commonwealth Edison easement, north of commercial area 159th,
you have 30
south
seconds.
of commercial area 159th, along the north side of 151st, and it goes on. And I'm going to give this letter to Carmen Morella because this was done before you were the manager. So either A, is there something that the village should know about? Is there some kind of strategic plan or enhanced plan for Section 8 that the rest of us don't know about? Or is this just another ploy, like saying you can lower the water bills, which you can't, which you admitted that was a falsehood? Thank you for answering that question last time. And is that it? But I just think if there's some kind of comprehensive plan going on to push Section 8, let us know. And have you updated this report to Mr. Quick? That's all. Thank you.
Well, if that's factual, and being that it's being said, I think a copy of that needs to be put on the desk so people can see what he was just speaking about, because I don't want anybody accused of being a liar, especially if they're not. So Carmen, would you make a copy of that letter in the meantime and put it on the desk for people to view, just so we know where the truth is?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. You said he lied.
Well,
I don't know.
true.
I didn't see it yet.
Mr. Rhodey, can I ask you a question? Yes. You said that there was a candidate for mayor and a trustee running for mayor?
I don't like, I'm running, so I don't want to actually mention names.
I would just like to know where was that spoken
I was
at?
sent a clip from numerous people at a membership of the HTRO of a Polish radio show that claimed that the HTRO removed these people because they didn't agree with the HTRO pushing Section 8 housing. So I've been on the board now I've been going to these meetings, and I am now chair.
Can you specify the candidates, please?
Oh, Christina Netsky-Trike and Curtis. Well, you know what? I think that I've never seen you at a meeting before, so.
We're in
I
public
saw the video.
comment. Can we move on to old business?
Public comment, so
Thank you.
if anyone's got any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to ask or answer.
Well, you can ask them under old business if you want.
Next is old business.
Oh, I have two things first. I'm jumping, and then y'all can argue all the way. All right. Lieutenant Taylor, I think maybe you may have misheard me, and this is what I love about documentation and why I write my speeches. So I'm going to refer to two things, and then you can go over the video. So the two comments that I made, our 12-month review from Will County Sheriff's Office documented that crime has increased over the past year with burglaries. Second one was, with the amped up crime and violent crime occurring around our village, I compiled a checklist of safety precautions. Okay? Now, second thing, kind of was already said tonight, but I was pretty appalled because I heard it from different people. I wasn't in attendance at the last village board meeting, but I did watch it on video. It appeared to me that Attorney Carrie Horvath did a thorough job in explaining to Mayor George Yukich that it was illegal for him to take down any campaign signs. It's a blatant violation of the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment right for freedom of speech, George. Yet, here we are as usual, George doing what George wants to do. I was given information about witness statements, not just one. And I want to make this very public so that people understand how disgusting our politics are, as if you don't know already. Forget the vile internet trolls. The mayor of Homer Glen has been going into a very large local business of Homer Glen, bullying and screaming at its employees to coerce them into removing the signs that are not illegally placed near the business. He didn't do this once, and he didn't do it twice. I heard he's done it about 3 or 4 times, including screaming at elderly clerks. George doesn't care about our community. He's on a mission to elect his protege, Christina Netschke-Trike. God forbid the opposition put up their signs in his village. You people have no shame. And apparently, now they're not allowed to clap. Argue away.
All right, under old business, I'd like to once again thank Carmen Morella for the grant process that he has been working with, not only for the $750,000 that he just received for parks, we also received, we're in the process of getting a grant for the fest. So I'm guessing that that's going to come through in the next couple months, hopefully. But again, I want to thank you for all your hard work that you've done in the grant process, Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Is there any new business?
New business, I just want to make sure we're staying ahead of the game with the mosquito treatment, that, Carmen, with the mosquito treatment, and I believe we just had that go through A&F, right? Yeah, it didn't hit the board yet. It hasn't hit the board yet, but again, Carmen Morella and with the township worked together on a process that took something where we're now saving over $20,000 over a 3-year period by working with the township, working with the village, and we have looked at a new company, not Clark this year, to do that mosquito treatment. And they also give you all kind of documentation that you weren't receiving before as to where the trucks are at, where they've been going, a whole mapping system. So I'm looking forward to that. I believe, did they tell us when, once the board approves that, we should be starting to see that happen? Did they say what month they could start? And then I'm assuming that should be on the agenda for the next meeting. It's gone through A&F already. It's been approved in admin and finance with that $20,000 savings over the next 3 years. Again, working with Carmen Morella, where you always get more for your money. And thank you for that, Carmen. So that you'll be seeing that on the agenda next time.
Okay, any other? Next will be executive session. Do we have one?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Joe.
Need a motion.
So move. Second.
Wait.
Give it to Rose.
Wait.
Motion. Move it for the 5-minute break.
These two, got it. Sorry, I was like,